Well, hello, Gwenno Dafydd. Thank you so much for coming along today.
Well, you're welcome. It's nice to be here.
Excellent. So we've all seen a copy, hopefully, of your book, Sock It to Them, Sister. So really, you're here today to talk about it and to give us a little bit of insight into some of the fantastic women that you met.
Well, yeah, I hope so. There were some amazing women that I actually met, but some that I didn't meet, and some of them I actually met just in cyberspace. So I interviewed them by Skype or by phone or whatever. But a lot of them I met in person. People like Amy Schumer, Joan Rivers, Jo Brand, Jenny Eclair. Oh gosh, the list is quite immense really by now of the people that I've met. And two of them have been, they've actually become really good friends. One is called Tanya Lee Davis, who is the smallest female stand-up comic in the world. And the other is Lynn Ruth, who's going to be with you before long.
That's right, yeah. Lynn Ruth Miller is the person who will be headlining our Dolly Chicken Comedy Night in November. So, yeah, absolutely. And, of course, the reason for that is that you introduced us and we'd already seen her on TV, actually, so she's a bit of a star. And
Well, she is a bit of a star because she was in America's Got Talent and she was, I was on the phone with her yesterday and she was saying that she'd been on America's Got Talent with Tanya Lee. And I didn't know that, so I didn't realise that they were good friends. However, I met her up in Edinburgh last year when the book was launched. She took part in the launch and she's an amazing woman. She started doing burlesque when she was 75 and she's now, at the age of 84, she is tripping away around Europe. She is now in Amsterdam and she's performing in Paris and she is amazing. And she's pushing the frontiers about what someone can do at a specific age because at the age of 84, she has no limits.
yeah. I mean, she was on First Dates, I think, where I saw her.
She was.
And she was absolutely hilarious. So, so thanks a lot for putting us in touch because she's going to be a real fantastic headliner for us in November.
I can't wait to see her. She is really funny. She's very, very funny.
So tell us about the book. Why did you start writing the book? And give us the full title, because I've only given the sort of headliner there.
Okay. Stand Up and Sock It to Them, Sister, Funny Feisty Females by Gwenno Dafydd. I forgot that bit. So basically, it goes a long way back because when I was in school, I used to love messing about and I was a class clown, or I was one of the class clowns. And I went to college, studied drama, and the parts I really loved were the comic parts, and nobody else wanted to have them, and there were only two guys in the entire class, so I ended up doing all the comic roles. So I was a professional performer up until my mid-30s, and then I had a daughter, and found that my working life was really, really compromised, so I decided to go and have a bit of education. I wanted to do some films on women and their lives. So I did a master's degree in women's studies, and as a result of that I had to do a thesis, a 20,000 word thesis about women working in a non-traditional environment. And because I'd loved to do all those comic roles, not only in college, but I also worked professionally as an actor, so I had quite a few comic roles within that time. And basically I really wanted to find out more about stand-up comedy because this was in the mid-90s and there were a few women who had sort of embarked on stand-up comedy then, but there weren't that many. And there was one woman that I interviewed in the five who I interviewed originally. There was Jenny Eclair, Jo Brand, Donna McPhail and two others. And Donna McPhail actually had a grant from the government to go and study to be a stand-up comic. She'd had sort of a...
Enterprise allowance or something.
That was what it was called, yeah, Enterprise allowance,
Wow,
yeah.
excellent.
So that was the first batch. There were 5 in the first batch, and then when I did the master's degree, delivered it, people said, oh, this is really brilliant, you should get a book. So that was a starting point, and then... So it took me 20 years, I'm a bit of a slow writer, to get it published. And by the publishing point, there were 84 interviews worldwide, not just men who were involved in comedy, but also obviously women. There were 65 female stand-up comics actually working in the environment worldwide. So It's been a bit of a labour of love, but it's a totally unique book. And I started the journey of the book with looking at the first female performers. So you've got the whole history of women in comedy from the time of the first singer, the first dancer, and then people like Mary Lloyd in the music hall, and then all the way through radio, film, television to the sort of the beginning of the 1980s, late 70s, when you had the alternative scene. So it's really chock-a-block full of really amazing role models.
No, that's fantastic. I'm just thinking, just the women you've already mentioned. I mean, they've become such big names, and just to the fact that you were talking to them when they were not so much starting out, but very soon before they became famous, really, or they'd just become famous. That's great to sort of see how they felt then, and maybe to look again. I presume you've met some of them again, and sort of seen how they've got on since you first talked to them. And
yeah, well, I mean, Donna doesn't do stand-up comedy anymore. I think she just got quite disillusioned with all the travelling, and she said when I interviewed her, she wanted to be a carpenter, which I believe she is now doing.
Oh, fantastic.
Jenny Eclair, obviously, we know her, we see her on our screens.
Yeah.
She's very good at promoting universal credit, I believe. Jo Brand needs not to be introduced any further because she's amazing and does all sorts of things, including walking across Britain and whatever. You know, they're very inspirational women. So, but most of the conversations I had with them were done on the phone. Not that many were done in person, but I did actually meet Amy Schumer, and I did meet Joan Rivers. So
how did those come about then? Because I would imagine if I had to guess which ones you hadn't actually met, I would have probably chosen one of the biggest ever female comedians in Joan Rivers, and then one of the big names of now from America, Amy Schumer. So how come you managed to meet both of those?
Well, Joan Rivers came to Cardiff to St David's Hall, and I have a spy inside of St David's Hall, and he's called Gareth Griffiths, or Big G as I call him.
Shout out to Big G then.
Yeah, shout out to Big G. He does have a mention twice in the book, so I really loved Gareth. He's amazing. It took me about a week to organise it all, but then I ended up going to see her backstage. Wow. And she was wonderful, and she just pulled me in and said, "Come here, let's have a big cuddle." I said, we call that a cwtch in Wales. And she gave me 5 little lipsticks, and she was lovely, and I wanted to give her the proposal for the book, and she said, no, you'll accuse me of stealing your ideas. So I said, okay, fine. But she was wonderful, and she gave me a few tips and everything. Amy Schumer was another one, because Tanya Lee Davis, my friend, I was going over to New York and going there with a choir to sing. And I thought, okay, I want to go and see some stand-up. Where do I go? And Tanya Lee said to me, you go to the Cellar Comedy Club, and it's in Greenwich Village. And I said, fine, okay. So I went to Greenwich Village, and this is about 5-6 years ago. And there was Amy Schumer, and I thought, oh my God, I want to go in there. I want to go and see this woman, because I'd heard about her and heard how she was really good. But the problem was I was there with 3 members of the choir. So I went up to the door and I said to the guy, can we get in? He said, sold out. I said, but I've come all the way from Cardiff. I've got to go in. He said, no, sold out. And I thought, I've come all the way from Cardiff. I'm not going now. So anyway, so I went away, and we went to this Vietnamese restaurant, the 3 others, and I was sitting there and I was about to combust. I thought, I haven't come this far to be turned away. So I said to the other 3, I said, look, I'm sorry, I got to go. And I went back to the door and I said, look, you've got to let me in. I've come all the way from Cardiff. Let me in. I'm writing a book about female stand-up comics. And he said, oh, go on then. So he let me in. And then afterwards I said, she was brilliant. So I saw her in the Comedy Cellar, which was a tiny little club, not very, very big, about 3 times, maybe 4 times as big as Dolly Chicken. And so afterwards I went to the guy and I said, can I buy you a beer? Yeah. And I said, I want to buy her a beer. And he said, oh, go on then. So he let me upstairs. So I went to the bar and I met her, and she was quite suspicious and I didn't like it. But then I made a contact with her, and ultimately was able to do an email interview with her. And also she published quite a lot of stuff about, she tried very hard to get good working conditions for comics in America, because they're not very well regulated. And so I had a really nice chunky piece of work that she'd done herself that I was able to integrate into the book as well.
Oh, fantastic! Wow, that sounds absolutely brilliant. So, so would you say then there was, having spoken to or communicated with or met so many female comics over the years, that there is sort of an essence that you think, yeah, this is something that I could say. They all seem to be whatever it is, or is there something you learnt from talking to them all, or is there something, just sort of a nub of the whole book and what you feel you got out of it and you'd like to share with others? Obviously they'll all be buying the book, but given that we want to really encourage them, what would you say you took from it overall, apart from an enormous enjoyment and delight that you finished it?
Absolutely. There's lots of things, but one of the most intriguing facts were how many of them had actually gone to all girls schools. That was something that was really unexpected. A very, very high proportion had gone to all girls schools. And that could be because in all girls schools you don't have boys messing about, taking the attention off the girls. The girls are able to develop in confidence. They were all totally unique. You had all sorts of different comics with all sorts of voices, all sorts of taboos that they're trying to break through. And so they're all individuals, that's for sure. They all have different brands of comedy. There isn't one that you would specifically say it's a female sort of comedy. And I think one of the most important thing is what Joan Rivers says, which is funny is funny. You know, it doesn't matter whether that's delivered by a man or a woman. The one big barrier that they all encountered, including people like Jo Brand, Jenny Eclair, etc., is what was the big barrier was their own lack of self-confidence. And I think that as men, you know, we're born into society where men are applauded even before, you know, they're out of the cribs, really, you know, and they're encouraged to be brave, they're encouraged to fall, they're encouraged to fail. We aren't. So basically we have to strive twice as hard as men. And I think that women are funny. You know, you just have to look at a whole gang of hens going out for a hen night. My God, all you hear is laughter, non-stop laughter. We have a different brand of comedy, I believe. Jenny Eclair said that men communicate through wit, women communicate through truth. And I think that that's what we do, is we talk about the realities of our own lives. And Woody Allen used to say, comedy is pain plus time. And I think that we as women, we have quite a lot of pain in our lives, be that because we are still second-class citizens. And I think that for us to be able to accommodate that pain into our lives, comedy is the way that we can actually integrate it. So it's pain plus time equals comedy.
Oh, well, thanks very much for that, Gwenno. I mean, thanks as well for very early on mentioning our November headliner. That was great. Thank you for the plug there. And also the fact that Dolly Chicken Comedy isn't that much smaller than the place you met Amy Schumer. That's great, isn't it? There we are. We like plugs for Dolly Chicken when we're doing an interview with us. So, so thank you so much. Thanks for coming along. So your book is available. Where can we buy your book?
Waterstones upstairs, or you can buy it from Parthian, the publishers, or you can buy it from me.
Excellent. So, and where would that be? By emailing you or getting in touch with Dolly Chicken Comedy, and we can put you in touch then.
But I've got a really nice event happening tomorrow in Crickhowell in the Literary Festival, and so it's available in any shop really. All you have to do is go in and ask for it. It's available on Amazon as well. So it's available worldwide, and lots of copies have been bought in America. I know for a fact that there's a copy winging its way over to Australia. I've got a little thing on Facebook which is called Socket on Tour, and so far Gareth Griffiths, my wonderful Big G, has taken the book to Antarctica. He's also taken it to Base Camp Everest. And you know, this book has been to Table Mountain, it's been to this comedy store on Sunset Boulevard. It's gone all over the place. So if you want to take a photograph with your copy and send it to me on tour, then I would really gladly put it up on my website. Thanks.
Oh, great. Thanks so much, Gwenno. So if you want the book, go to Waterstones. You don't have to go to the Antarctic. So that's good news to start. But thank you so much for coming on, Gwenno Dafydd. And wish you all the very, very best with the book.
Thank you very much.